and the whys of cutting ties and what that looks like with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, so the Brandon Aiyuk saga has died down a little bit, mainly because he's finally decided maybe he shouldn't be posting on social media all the time. It seems
Too
like,
late, boss.
it seems like once Stephon Diggs was signed by the Commanders, he
That
suddenly was
did it.
like,
Oh,
"Oh, bro, I thought we were
he never,
best friends."
bro. He never had a
Um,
chance, bro.
Now, people have been saying the 49ers are just being petty. They need to just let him go. This is not about being petty. Okay, so
Yeah, it's real money.
where things stand right now is that the 49ers could do nothing, and Brandon Ayuk's cap will be pushed off another year. For like every game that he. So how this would work is if he stays on the did not report indefinitely for the rest of his life, what ends up happening is his contract will just keep getting delayed. So it won't vest any year. And so, like, if he was to stay on it for 2026, all of his cap and his prorated signing bonus would then be pushed to 2027. And so at the end of the season, his prorated signing bonus, and really it would count per game, but his prorated signing bonus would then be credited at the end of 2026 back to 2026 and then rolled over into 2027. Does that make sense? So for the 49ers, if they just don't do anything right now, then this is the best, then that's a fine way to go about it for them. Now they have to wait, for the process to actualize before they can get the credits and all this stuff. So that's probably not the actual pathway they're going to take, but that is an option for them right now. Just don't do anything, and you wait for Brandon Aiyuk to have to do something. Where it stands right now is that Brandon Aiyuk, because he's on the reserve retired list for the left squad, he is not technically in the league. So he has to apply for reinstatement to the commissioner.
And how's that going to look?
So people have been saying, Brandon Aiyuk's going to apply for reinstatement and force the 49ers to cut him. And that once he applies, then they'll cut him. And so why are we waiting around? He's going to apply before his September 1st deadline because the 49ers owe him like a $25 million option bonus there. If he's on the roster as of September 1st, then they have to pay him that bonus, which clearly they don't. So the thought is he's just going to wait this out. He doesn't want to show up to training camp. He's going to wait this out because if he's on the active roster and he's not at training camp, then he gets fined $50,000 for every practice he's not there. And he doesn't want to step foot back in that building. So the thought is that he's waiting this out now till training camp ends. Then he's going to apply for reinstatement, force the 49ers' hand. That is kind of what the prevailing thought in everybody. And so people are saying the 49ers just need to cut him now and not deal with this because he's not liable to fines while he's on the reserve left squad list for not being at training camp. The fault in that is that Roger Goodell has to approve his reinstatement and is under no obligation to come to a resolution on that in a timely manner. There's nothing in the CBA that says if Brandon Aiyuk applies for reinstatement now that he has to receive a decision within 2 weeks or that he has to receive a decision within 7 days. Roger Goodell can take as much time as he wants. And here's what Roger Goodell will most likely do because he does not represent the players. The players have their union. They have their NFLPA.
He represents the owners.
He represents 32 NFL owners and owner consortium. So his role is to protect the interests of the owners, and that is it. That is what his main job is. The owners do not want to set a precedent of if a guy gets disgruntled with my team, then he just doesn't show up posts a bunch of crazy stuff about who he's going to sign with on social media to force his way off my team, and gets to just do all of this, go wherever he wants, and it's perfectly fine. That is a bad precedent. So they're going to absolutely want to chill that precedent. So and Goodell would want to chill that precedent. So here's what Goodell most likely would do is Goodell would immediately say, Brandon, we're worried about your mental health. So I want to have a full mental health evaluation done of you before I decide on if you can be reinstated. And so you're going to see our doctor. You're going to see him on September 1st at 3:30 p.m. and it's going to be a 3-hour long evaluation.
And that'll be after
And that'll be after, because the option bonus expires at 5 p.m. on September 1st.
Oh man.
And so then he could reinstate him September 2nd. And what happens is that option bonus of the 49ers, because it passed during his time on the reserve list, it would be pushed to September 1st of 2027. And so essentially Roger Goodell could give the 49ers 364 days of contractual control over Brandon Aiyuk with no bonus structure being forced. And the only thing they're on the hook for is $1.37 million of base salary if he shows up. If he shows up,
which we don't think he will. But 1 million is like $1 to me and you.
So what will almost certainly happen is that Brandon Aiyuk thinks he can drag this out past his fines that he would get for training camp, get reinstated, just real quick. It's just you fill out a form. It's not a problem. I'll submit it. Goodell, it should just take a day to process.
Here's your dollar.
Yeah, that Goodell is going to reinstate him, and then he's going to force the 49ers' hand with this option bonus. It's not going to play out that way. Okay, so why would the 49ers not cut him then? Because the moment preseason ends, if a player is under contract and is actively under contract and misses a preseason while they are under contract, the 49ers immediately will have grounds, and by the CBA be able to give a letter of demand to the NFLPA for 25%, or to recoup 25% of Brandon Aiyuk's signing bonus. He had a $23 million signing bonus, so this would be about $5.5 million $5.53 million in signing bonus is what he would end up getting, or is what they would be recouping if he misses all of training camp and preseason. It ends. They can send that letter of demand. It goes to a third-party arbitrator. It's very clear that this is a guy that's been under contract and missed all of preseason. That's why Brandon Aiyuk was seen around the team last year. He was making it very public, and he was running routes and stuff. He was showing that he was there at training camp so that they couldn't sue him or give a letter of demand for that signing bonus back. So they can, that's the moment preseason ends. The moment he misses week 1, now they could probably already do this just off of preseason, but if he misses week 1, then he will have missed games in 2 subsequent seasons for leaving the squad. That would give them an immediate ability to then give a letter of demand to the NFLPA for full recouping of his $23 million signing bonus. Now, people will say, isn't that just a little harsh to go after the guy's money? He may not even be able to pay this all back. These are 2 separate things. So according to the CBA under Article 4, Section 9, and under Article 13, the league does not enforce the return of the money from a signing bonus, and they don't require the money to actually be transferred back before they count the cap credits. So what that means is that the Yorks may not ever receive money back from Brandon Aiyuk, but the salary cap will be credited back once that letter of demand is approved by a third-party arbitrator. So how it would work is the 49ers send a letter of demand to the NFLPA for full forfeiture of Brandon Aiyuk's $23 million signing bonus. It would go to an independent arbiter. Again, having the evidence of that this is a player who has missed season games in 2 subsequent seasons while under contract and missed a preseason and has put the things he did on social media. That would be about as quick as it goes. It would take about 32 minutes for an independent arbiter to say, yes, this guy's clearly in breach of contract. And therefore, then he would award the 49ers the $23 million. So the 49ers at the end of 2026 will get $23 million of salary cap space credited back to them for 2027. Now, the Yorks, if they wanted to actually get that cash back, then they would have to take Brandon Aiyuk to civil court, and they could place liens on his property. Brandon Aiyuk would have to then send a letter to a request back to the IRS saying that, well, I paid taxes on earnings that I actually have not actually gotten. So the IRS would have to refund him his taxes that he paid on that $23 million. He would also have to do that through the state of California for the taxes they took on that. He would then have to get that back, then try and pay the Yorks. They would put liens on his properties. Now that's a separate issue. Whether or not the Yorks do that, I don't foresee them actually doing that. I think they probably at this point don't want to ever talk to Brandon Aiyuk again. And so what's going to happen here is they're going to keep this process out. The moment week 1 passes, probably on the plane ride back, York and Alguido are probably going to have the drafts already made up to send the NFLPA the letter of demand and start the process to recoup all $23 million of cap space that Brandon Aiyuk's signing bonus had. That is why they're not doing anything. That is why they're not releasing him. That is why they took his name out of the locker room, because they probably already realized that the moment of no return for Brandon Aiyuk has passed, that Goodell will delay this for at least a month, even if Brandon Aiyuk applies for reinstatement, and they have no intention of bringing him back into the building. So that is what's happening right now.
So a couple of things to address here. We are all over the Brandon Aiyuk talk. We're over it. But on this channel, as far
as Scott saying, claw back the left squad regular season games, that already happened. When they put him on the left squad, that was credited back at the end of 2025. So it was credited towards 2026. It just wasn't a big amount because it wasn't a lot of base salary. So this is now for the $23 million. So in essence, what the 49ers would get is this would clear somewhere around $100 million in cap space over the next 3 years. That's why they're not going to do anything. Like people saying it's being petty. No, it's actually about real dollars and cents to have to do with the salary cap, because the 49ers, when they have had salary cap space, have been absolutely willing to go make some big splashes in free agency and trades or trade and signs. Like D Ford, for example. D Ford wanted a big contract from the Chiefs. Chiefs didn't want to give him one. We traded a second round pick and then paid him a massive contract. Did the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. We traded for him, gave him a big contract. We traded for Trent Williams, made him the highest paid left tackle in the league. We signed Charvarius Ward. We signed Malcolm Smith to one of the largest linebacker contracts there was when we signed him. That was 2017. They're trying to build the defense, and he had been the former MVP of the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. They gave Quan Alexander a $14 million a year contract when that was, I think, top 5 at the position at the time. Jerick McKinnon was paid top 3 at the position when they signed him in free agency. Weston Richburg top 3 in the as a position when they signed him as a center. Javon Hargrave got $25 million a year from the 49ers. Like the 49ers have shown that they will go make a big splash in free agency when they have the cap space. This Brandon Aiyuk situation and what they're doing with him is all about cap space. Just dollars and cents. So all that.